I think we all should live our lives by unreasonable hospitality, by the way. It's not just about, I think, people in service, but to adapt that in a tasting room environment. Again, for too long, especially high-end wineries, it's like you pay your money, you come in, it's very stiff, you're tasting, you're supposed to know some rules that maybe you do or do not know, don't wear perfume and by the way, we're judging you if you are, and if you ask certain questions, we're judging you. I'm like, let's have fun. Let me listen to you. Like, I'm noticing that you seem to really be gravitating toward that wine. What is it that you like about it? Instead of me sitting here and pontificating about what you're tasting, why don't you tell me what you're tasting? Our scent memory is our strongest memory. And it's the last memory we have before we go. It's so strong. So scent and sound together. I'm also crazy about music. So I try to link. I used to do a tasting for one of my clients, who was also a big music person. I would send out a survey to someone, so they would come in and they'd book a tasting, and I'd say, "Tell me your 3 favorite music memories and your favorite wine memory or whatever," and I would put together a playlist for them. So that playlist would be playing while we were tasting, and then they could take it with them, you know.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Barrels and Roots podcast. I am your host, Sean Trace, and I have a very awesome guest with me today. Would you like to tell people who you are and what you do?
I am Vicki Tomiser. I do a lot of things. We were just talking about wearing different hats when we were
Right?
jumping in. I am the founder of Wine Flight Consulting and Wine Flight Society, which is consulting. I work with small family-owned wineries on sales strategy, on digital media marketing, on any kind of how do we get out into the world that's maybe not just waiting for someone to walk through your winery tasting room door or receive a club shipment. Like, I like to call it other DTC. How do we do it? So I help people do that. And I love that. And the Wine Flight Society is a consumer-facing, subscription-based. You can come be a member of the society, and we do things like, when I say we, my mom used to say, whenever I would use the royal we, do you have a mouse in your pocket? I mean, I am the company. I do curated itineraries for visits to wine country. I have been in this industry that I adore I just am going to own it and tell you, over 30 years, in wearing lots of different hats and doing lots of different things and learning and meeting great people along the way. So when you do that, I know, like, where are the really cool unknown places to go, maybe a little off the beaten path. So I do those itineraries. We do some fun educational things. Eventually, I hope this year we'll also be sending out what I call the flight path, which is curated wine offerings from some of these small family-owned wineries that I'm working with. So that's currently what I do. And I'm a mom of a 16-year-old daughter, so that's a huge part of my life as well.
I love it. Well, there's a couple things. There's so much to dig into there, and I love it because I love the idea of people come to wine country, whether they go to any of the different wine countries, if you go Napa, Sonoma, or up in Oregon, or Paso, wherever, and there's the big places they go, right? And yet, do you know one of my favorite places? I am originally not originally, but I've lived in Napa, in St. Helena, for a long part of my life. And I used to love, and I still go out there. I filmed a music video out there with my wife. If you go out this one road and you just keep going, it's like off of Silverado Trail, and you just go deep, deep, deep back off this road near Meadowood. Near Meadowood, it's
Okay.
like there's this little road that goes up and out, and it takes you out to the backside of Lake Hodges. And you might not, if you don't know like what's out there, like, you're gonna drive out there and be like, "Where are we going? There's nothing here." But you go deeper, and suddenly you come out on this beautiful, beautiful lake, and it's absolutely stunning, and there's this tree this beautiful oak tree that's in this area where people will sit and you can watch the birds. It's like a natural location. But one of the reasons I bring that up is that that is one tiny little place. There are so many things that if you aren't asking the right people, you'll never know, you know? And so I
Right.
love what you're doing. Like, that offering is so cool to me because you just can open doors for people that they might not. Like, I live in Vietnam now. If you ever come here, do not look on the internet and see what are the good places recommended. No, no, you ask me, and I'm gonna
Right.
take you to some places
100%.
that you're gonna be like, "Wow, this food right here is good." That's the way it should be.
I think anytime you travel, it is that way. I've had the great good fortune of being able to spend a lot of time in France and Spain and Germany, and it's always like the places that tourists go or know about, they're getting, like, a similar experience, you know? Sometimes I'm just like, "Wow, I could be, like, in San Diego," or something, right? So, it it's really beneficial, and that's really why I had the idea for itineraries. I'm from Kentucky originally, so I have people come out. They always tell me that they're coming to visit me in Napa, by the way, and I live in Sebastopol. I live in Sonoma County. I'm like, "You are not coming to visit me in Napa. We'll for sure go there. I love it." But, Napa, for better or worse, is like the Band-Aid, right? Like, when people think of wine country, they think they're going to Napa somehow, like some pl
Mhm.
from but, there's as you said, Oregon, Washington, well, the beautiful Central Coast of California, amazing, and
Right?
then some, like, even up in Lodi and that kinda thing, some really interesting things. But to your point about, like, that off the beaten track, you wouldn't know it was there thing, if you come out and you get on Highway 21 in Napa, you could go and you'd be like, "Whoa, Robert Mondavi," go in there, "Oh, Catherine Hall," and all of these places are fabulous places, like, 0 shade to go there. They're beautiful and wonderful, but how cool it is to, like, have an insider tell you, "Oh, but if you go this way and you're okay for the windy road," or that kinda thing, "you're gonna come out here and find
Yep.
this, hidden gem." One of the families I work with, the tasting room is where their production facility is, which is across from a climbing gym, right? So
That's
it's
awesome.
not like they're not all some, great estate looking over vineyards. That's beautiful part of the experience, but it's the wine and it's the people and it's the story. Always for me, wine is a story.
100%.
There's, where's it grown? Who are the people? Why did they make those choices? What's their story of getting into wine?
I had some wineries that were asking me to do some video for them, and one of the things and I was like, "That's great." And they're like, "We wanna start with a drone shot." And I said, "No. No. No, don't do that." And they're like, "Why not? We have a beautiful location." I said, "People don't give a crap about that. They give a crap about the wine. They care about the people that are making it." And I said, If you're gonna start off with the person who comes up," like, you know what? I, um, I love, the types of videos that start with, like, the marketing video I would make for a winery? Start off with, like, the alarm goes off, 6 AM. 5 AM, whatever time it is. And then the guy you show the winemaker pouring his coffee, walking out, and doing whatever he's doing or out there with the grapes because that that's that's the reality, and that's cool.
Mhm,
That's really
mhm.
interesting to see. And that to me is the heart of um of what it's all about. So let me put this out there because I want to ask. I got so many questions. We're already going off on a tangent, but I love it. But, like, when did wine stop being a drink and start feeling like a calling to you? Was there a moment or a bottle that flipped that switch to you?
Every wine person, and I know
Mhm.
you've spoken to a lot of them. If you say, "What was your aha wine?" So, we all have one of those, but I also think that for me, the answer to your question is beyond my aha wine. Um, I my degree's in theater. I my brother was in theater. I loved it. I still love theater. I thank God for wine because I can still, like, live and pay my bills and take care of my child. Let me put it that way. I don't think I'd be doing that with theater. Um, However, that led me to tending bar, as it does a lot of people who study theater. And so I was tending bar, and I had the opportunity. Again, I said I've been in this business a long time. So this was in the 90s, early 90s, maybe even late 80s, to go to a wine tasting, which was not like it is now. Like, wine tasting is very widespread. You can go in, people are doing wine dinners. Not so much back then. And so I took it. I was really excited to go. I went with the manager of the restaurant who knew that I was really into, exploring things. And it was Trefethen. And I tasted a Trefethen Cabernet and I smelled it and could smell blackberries and I was like pencil lead and flowers. And they were like, wow, like you have like, do you do this or whatever? I'm like, I don't do it. And I was so like excited by that idea. Like maybe this is something I'm like good at, that I started down this rabbit hole of reading. And there wasn't a ton out there to do to read and even learn about then. Um, Kevin Disraeli's Windows on the World, that was my Bible of there is something that Karen McNeil has, the wine Bible. My Bible was Kevin Disraeli. And then later in my study, Andrea Emma Robinson's books are like how I like got into wine. But years past that time, I mean, I'm loving wine, I'm studying it, but like to say it's my calling, I still would not have done that. I was tending bar again, still like, how I lived and ate, but I now was in Orlando, Florida. And one of my regulars was Arnold Palmer, the golfer, greatest golfer in the world. And the nicest man too. He and his wife would come in and sit at the bar. And he said, I think that you should come run my wine program at the Bay Hill Club. And I said, Mr. Palmer, you're a 26-year-old bartender with a theater degree. I don't think so. I don't know anything about that. And he said, I know people. Come see me next week. And I did. And the next week, I was the beverage director of the Bay Hill Club. And as a young woman, at that time, there weren't many women in the rooms where I was. Now, I was in a place of like buying power. There
Mm.
were middle-aged men in gray suits, a lot of middle-aged men in gray suits. I was, but I was serious about what I was doing, and I was serious about making it happen. And it really was because Mr. Palmer believed in that I could do it, and I was going to make sure I did it. Um, and because I had this buying power, got invited by wineries to come out here. This is when I knew it was my calling. Um, Mondavi, I brought that they took me up in a helicopter looking at the vineyards. I got to stand in Oakville and taste a Cabernet from Oakville and then go over to just not even like a stone's throw away and taste another Cabernet under that different soil and understand terroir. This is when you see me get all jazzed up because terroir makes me crazy. That's when I fell in love, and that's when I knew I was going to do this. So it was a little bit of a journey, but that was really it. the soil is my love language.
All right. I had a list of questions, but I want to hear about the soil is your love language. Talk to me about that because I I want for people to understand this. There's something really interesting that you see. Like I live in Vietnam, and it's interesting that the Vietnamese here and the Vietnamese Americans, they look different. Their sizes are different, their builds are different, and like you get a group that grows up in two different places, and they grow up physically different from different diets, different things. And it's the same with grapes. You put these grapes in two different locations and people will look different and grow different, or the plants will grow different and the flavors are different. Talk to me about that.
It's one of my very favorite tasting experiences for people is to be able to say, this this is the same vintage. So we're talking about, so you're not going to say this has more bottle age or not, or there was more rain that year, whatever. This is the same vintage. This is made by the same winemaker. This is the same grape, but it comes from 3 different places. And to talk about the aha moment of people going, like, I don't even believe, and sometimes I don't even believe it's the same grape, right? A Pinot Noir from the Russian River, which is more inland and maybe, yes, still gets fog, but gets a lot more sun, and however they treat that, it may be more juicy, jammy, sexy, fireplace-y. But you go way out to the cold Sonoma coast, very cool, very windy, very different, what the grape has to do to shield itself from that kind of experience. They have to pick at different times. They have to pray that it gets ripe. But then those
Yeah.
grapes are zingy, mineral, acid, that more of the high tone reds, where that Russian River might be, where this might be like cranberry and strawberries. That Russian River is going to be maybe blackberries and blueberries, kind of, if we talk about fruit expression, and then go to Oregon and talk about like the earth component. Um, we the Donlands have a Pinot Noir. They a beautiful Pinot Noir from Russian River, Bennett Valley, and then they have one that up in the wild Mendocino Ridge. They're wildly different in expression, and it's so fun. And that is how much sun does it get? I do a little thing which I can't do for you because but like I am the grapevine, right?
Hmm.
I am the vine, and everything that is underneath me and immediately around me is my terroir. So, how far down do my roots go, and am I getting water? Is somebody feeding me water, so then I'm going this way with my roots, or do I have to, like, dig and dig and dig and go down to get it? And if you have to dig and dig and dig and go down to get it, you're getting in all the other parts of that soil while you're looking for that water. So that's cool. Um, that's why people talk about dry farming, etcetera. Uh, is the sun on my face, at a certain time during the day? How long does the fog stay in? What's the average rain for the area that I'm in? All of those things tell me what the grapes that I make from that vine are gonna taste like and be like. And that's where
Yeah.
it all starts. Like, wine starts there.
I love that.
So it's pretty exciting.
It's
I
super
just sounded like
exciting.
a farmer. I'm totally not a farmer, and I'm totally not a winemaker, and I don't even play one on TV, but I love to talk about it.
That's awesome. I mean, but it's passion. It's where your passion lies. And I mean, one of the things that I loved that you had talked about is that you had described wine as people and stories. Where did that belief come from?
I think that's innate to me and maybe why I um, continued the route I went through hospitality. To me, every time you open a bottle of wine, you are opening a story because that bottle of wine is about where did the grapes come from? How were the decisions made to whatever happened in the winery, that's some winemaker story. How did that
Yeah.
winemaker decide that he wanted to do this? If it's a family involved, which so many of the wines I work with now are, like, how did they fall in love with wine? Those questions you're asking me. Every time I go to into a project with another family, I feel like I'm starting a new Netflix show. So it's
Right?
like, gotta get to know the people and what are the dynamics and, what's the story today? It's keeps me on my toes. But there's every bottle of wine is a story, and not just the boutiquey small production ones, although those are my favorite stories right now. But I worked for the Gallo Winery for 11 years. They were, like, so good to me and really, helped me in my training and all of those kinds of things, and those larger production wines have their own story, Some of them, you know, are made in a marketing room, but, like, a lot of cool people get into this for lots of different reasons. The people are my favorite part of the whole journey, even though I love drinking the wine very much.
Right? The people are the important part of the journey. We need a reality show, Real Winemakers of Wine Country or something. I mean, that would be at least a little bit. Then they would, like, overdo it, and it would be a little bit wild, but see, it's not that glamorous, though. Real Housewives of Orange County, it was always the drama. Like, I think it'd be much more akin to Dirty Jobs, like,
Yeah,
you just showing their
that would
like,
work
show
better.
it would work way better, but, like, uh, you have some seriously interesting things you've done, like, you were sourcing wines for airlines earlier in your career as well. That's such an
I love
unusual
that
entry
job.
point into the industry. Talk to me about that.
That was after Gallo, and so I left the largest winery in the world to go be the 5th employee for, a broker who, specialized in selling wine to airlines and cruise lines, and my job was to source the wines, meet with the consultants for wineries. What a lot of people, when they think about wine on airplanes, they think about the little 187 bottles, which
Mhm.
that is certainly a part of it. There's so much more to it. I mean, mostly what I was sourcing was 750s. I was in Burgundy, I was in, Bordeaux, I was in Champagne, because all of those wines fly on the airlines, and so the dynamic of meeting the consultants, which for the big airlines are masters of wine and master sommeliers, so, like, very serious wine people, but also the niche of it has to be a certain production level, right? People, I mean, like, 5,000 cases to be able to say you can, like, say, "I can give you 5,000 cases for a program." Some wineries, the Donlin Winery makes 5,000 cases of everything they do a year. So while so it's a lot to be able to, like, find the quality level, the production level, and the price level that you need, and, put that all together because a lot of something like 1,600 wines, let's say, for one program, get put in, and 12 wines get chosen at the end of the day for one ten and it's a one-time-a-year tender. It's a very niche-y thing, um, but there's once-a-year tender, but there's once a year for Delta, once a year for United, once a year for American. So, I mean, there's plenty of stuff to, like, keep you always going. I learned so much, and the travel was amazing. And I would have I would have done that forever, and then pandemic. And what you don't wanna be doing in a pandemic is be in charge of sourcing for selling wines to airlines.
Right? That's wild. But
Yeah.
one of the things too that's like you then transitioned more into a different direction. But I also wanted to ask you, like, you had said something about hospitality. Like, what does the word hospitality actually mean to you in a wine context? And how has your definition of it evolved?
So because I did start out in restaurants, and that was my, like, feeling of hospitality then, and especially, wow, to be a bartender, a server at high-end restaurants, and then in hotels and that kind of thing beyond that, you learn hospitality in this way of, like, everything is taken care of, you want the guest to you wanna have it for them before they even know that they need it, that kind of experience. But to me, how hospitality has evolved has been perhaps, like, how my life has evolved. So much about listening. It's not about, just is your table set up perfectly aligned and are the glasses in just the right place? To me, I think in the beginning, that's how hospitality was taught. But now it's like listening to the people and surprising them, surprise and delight. There's a book by Will Guidara called Unreasonable Hospitality. And
Mm.
I listen to that on audiobooks at least once a year. I think we all should live our lives by unreasonable hospitality, by the way. It's not just about, I think, people in service, but to adapt that in a tasting room environment. Again, for too long, especially high-end wineries, it's like you pay your money, you come in, it's very stiff, you're
Mm.
tasting, you're supposed to know some rules that maybe you do or do not know, don't wear perfume and by the way, we're judging you if you are, and if you ask certain questions, we're judging you. Um, I'm like, "Let's have fun. Let me listen to you." Like, I'm noticing that you seem to really be gravitating toward that wine. What is it that you like about it? Instead of me sitting here and pontificating about what you're tasting, why don't you tell me what you're tasting? And our scent memory, this is one of my favorite things. Our scent memory is our strongest memory. And, it's the last memory we have before we go. It's so strong. So scent and sound together. I'm also crazy about music. Um, so I try to link I used to do a tasting for one of my clients, but who was also a big music person. I would send out a survey to someone, so they would come in and they'd book a tasting, and I'd say, "Tell me your 3 favorite music memories and your favorite wine memory," or whatever, and I would put together a playlist for them, so that playlist would
Oh,
be
yeah.
playing while we were tasting, and then they could take it with
Yes.
them, you know?
I wish that we could have a little bit more rock and roll in, some of the wine tasting rooms. I wish we could have a little bit more spirit and zest, and there are people that are doing it. I'm gonna say that there are some wineries that are starting to change up the game and to start looking at ways to make it more fun. Because at the end of the day, one of the crazy things is the last couple of tastings that I've been on weren't fun. They were, like, very stiff, and the wine
Right,
was phenomenal, but the
right,
experience was just like, I felt like I was going through this motion and, like, but the reality is that my favorite tasting ever was, and I mentioned this on the podcast a little while ago. I had a friend who worked in one of the tasting rooms, and we rolled up in there, and he was working with people, and he's just like, "Settle in, man. You're welcome to stay here as long as you want." And he started pouring us different wines. He's like, "Try some of this." And we were there, we were chatting, we were having fun, we were just and the people that were coming in, everyone was, like, really having a peaceful, fun time, and it was a small tasting room, and everyone felt welcome, and we were joking and having fun, and it was just this communal thing, people that didn't know each other, and we were all having fun and laughing together. And I was just like, "This is the way it should be." And, it was like we were there for a long time. We tried so many different wines, and never once did anyone tell me what I was supposed to be tasting. Never once did they tell me what the flavors were supposed to be, what I was there are hints of this. Man, I don't even know what a black currant tastes like, It's like and I don't know how many times I've had someone say black currant or, like, hints of raspberry, and I'm like, "I don't taste any raspberry in this, like, this tastes like" there's one fruit here in Vietnam that's called saboche, and the Western name is sapodilla. It tastes a little bit like pumpkin pie, apple pie, and something else mixed up in a fruit. It's a wild flavored fruit. It is wild. And like,
I have to get some of that somehow.
yeah, it's so good. It is so like, it's like a pumpkin pie fruit, and yet it has like applesauce vibe in it too. And you'll eat it and you're like, wow, that's amazing. But, those are the flavors I have. If someone came up and said, there are hints of this in it, and I was like, no, man, it's like a little bit like root beer too. Like there's a little bit of root beer flavor. It's wild.
Oh.
And so those are my
What's
associations.
sarsaparilla?
It's like a
Hmm.
sabotage. I think it's like I think there is a connection to sarsaparilla or something. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but it is delicious,
You said root beer, so I lean that. That sounds
right?
so interesting. And
It
now
is.
see, what you just said touched on exactly where I was going when my squirrel brain took me someplace else. But because your scent memory is so strong, if 3 of us were sitting in a room tasting the exact same wine, we would describe it a different way if we weren't afraid. People get afraid. Nobody walks in the kitchen and somebody's baking a pie, they don't go, I think that's blueberry pie, but I'm afraid to say I think it's blueberry because what if I look like a dummy if it's
Right.
Nobody does that, but they do it about wine. And,
Mm.
honestly, wine people, that's on us. It's not on me. I've never been that wine person, but, this idea of somehow it's so elite and only those of us who have been tested and all that kind of stuff can, like, talk about it. I mean, it's grape juice at the end of the day. Now, it's
Right.
cool, fun, a lot of work goes into that grape juice, but it is, and I think we need to get over ourselves, but because of where you live and what you've experienced and, like, how I grew up in a small town in Kentucky and maybe somebody else that's tasting is from, uh, I here in California, right? Anything. So what we're smelling, we're going that's our scent memory. You're gonna go back in your scent memory. That's why sometimes people will say, I don't know, I use pie a lot. I'm from Kentucky. I can describe almost any wine in pie terms, at least a
That's
little bit.
awesome.
There's key lime pie, and there's blackberry pie, and there's, like, certain crumbles. It's a different experience. But, like, what you're just talking about, that would be very unique to your experience. Like, most people that I would be tasting with would not have had that, right? But so you could say that, and I love that. I talk about, Queen Anne's lace a lot in some wines because it's not that you taste Queen Anne's lace, but you smell it, and it's all connected back here. What you smell and what you taste is all connected. That's why when you have a cold, you can't taste things.
Yeah. I love what you're talking about too, because so this weekend I'm doing an episode with two of my recurring guests, and we're gonna do the celebrity wine challenge. Essentially, I'm gonna name a bunch of different celebrities, and they have to say if that person was a wine, what wine would they be? And
Oh,
so,
oh my gosh. Please have me on sometime to do that. That sounds so
oh
fun.
no, I'm not gonna do that for you. I'm gonna If you want to come on and do it, I'll have you on in a heartbeat. But we're gonna do music and bands. So I would pick a
Yes,
band,
yes,
and
yes.
then you would have to tell me what band that is. But we got to get at least two people. So if you want another
Okay,
person who's into music and wine, let me know, and we'll pull in and make it a little bit of a competition. Because
okay.
yeah, I
I'll
mean, like
think on that. I'm sure I do.
we have an episode on here that we did like Harry Potter characters and wines, and like if they
Oh,
were in like
fun.
different Harry Potter houses, what would they be? And my point being, like, we have to look at a different way to approach it because
Mhm,
there's so many different ways to look at this. And I think that, if you can work with people on things that they already understand, it just makes it a lot easier for them to kind of
mhm.
enter that world. So that's just some thoughts. But I want to ask you this because you work now mostly for small family owned wineries. What do those families usually get wrong about their story when they're trying to connect with customers?
Um, Sometimes you can't get out of your own way, I think, when
Right?
right? You're in your own little bubble. You see other people doing things. Maybe you're trying to do things like that. What I talk about all the time, and I hope that my folks a lot of them will listen to this and they'll be like, "That's for sure, she does talk about it all the time," is brand voice. So it's not about so and so does that and they do it successfully. Maybe that is really not your jam, and maybe it really does not make sense for you to do that. I like to look at all the things that people do, but I want my people to be who they are and to in whatever they're doing on social media, if they're putting out emails, if they're pouring wine at a table at some event, lean into who they are. What's the brand story? What's the brand voice? What do we stand for? Who are we? And you don't have to stand for everything. You shouldn't stand for everything, but be what is authentic to you. And authentic just came out of my mouth just then. Like anytime somebody comes, there's a great idea and we start reading about it or whatever, and then the word becomes so overused. I'm a little tired of authentic. People can be inauthentic in their authenticity. Like they're
Right?
trying so hard to like seem authentic. Just be who you are.
Hey, I'm cool too. We're the cool kids. And you're like, what are you doing, man?
If you have to say you're cool, you're not cool, dude.
Right? 100%. Right?
There's
Yeah.
the mom from Mean Girls. She's like, "I'm the cool mom." And my daughter got me that T-shirt once. I'm like, Oh, so also T-shirts though. I did wear this for you, although you can't see it. So I'm gonna try to get it where you can see it. Winosaur.
There you go. Winosaur. I love that. I got oh man, I love cool shirts and hats. I got some Barrels and Roots hats made the other day and I love them. And so I rock them everywhere. That and my Full Battery Media hats.
Merch is cool. I'm excited to do some Wine Flight merch. I haven't done any,
Yeah.
but I'm going to.
I love that. Well, one of my questions too, because I love the idea of DTC. It's such a big buzzword in wine right now. But what does great direct-to-consumer experience actually look like versus one that just goes through the motions?
I mean, you basically said it right there. Wine, let's go back to being the cool kids, right? This is wine. We should be the cool kids. But unfortunately, it's something this industry has been very stuck in doing things the same way all the time, right? And I think a great DTC experience is one in which they're listening to their people. They're not afraid to do something different. They're bringing people in for experiences because the wine cannot do all the heavy lifting. Now, the wine has to be good. I mean, that has to be, that's the understood part, right? And some people are going to like your wine and some people aren't, no matter what you're doing. If you're, standing on your right foot under the full moon and chanting whatever you're doing, some people are going to like it, some people aren't going to like it. But what you can offer them is, hey, we're going to have some fun. We're going to engage you. We're going to make you think, but it's going to be fun. I love gamification with wine now. It's something that's really coming on. But pay attention to your audience. And by the way, your audience is all different. People that walk in, like, how old are they? Where do they live? What's their experience with wine? Ask them all of those questions and curate. Curation in direct-to-consumer is, I think, so important. And people are really thinking outside of the box now as far as, like, what does a club look like? Or what am I trying to do with my mailing list? You can have a lot more fun with that. I'm not sure if you've ever you probably have. I may have Ed from Tank Garage. Have you
I
talked
love
with
Ed.
Ed?
Ed's super cool,
He's
yeah.
amazing. So to me, to me, Ed's kind of my guru of that thing, and not just Ed. He has a team and that, but I know Ed because he and I are on the steering committee for the Direct to Consumer Wine Symposium. But I love what Tank Garage does. They really are actively putting a fun spin back on wine and how they talk about it, how they present it to their people. The experience you have when you walk in there is fun. Um, so they're not one of my clients. So there's a free one for you, Ed. But they're doing something. They just sent it to me. I'm on their mailing list where nobody wants to run out of rosé, right? So they're like doing like their tank garage, so a rosé fill up situation, I guess. Like, hey, I'm down, like fill me up with rosé. That's it. Like, listen to your people and don't be afraid to do some fun stuff, right?
Yeah, I love them, and I absolutely love Ed and the way they're changing up because it's fun. They have made wine fun again in a way that a lot of
Yes.
people do not get that or feel that it's not okay to do. And I'm like, why not? It's like get out there and make it fun. Like it is a fun beverage. Drinking wine
It is.
is a fun thing to do. And so you don't have to fight the fact that it's fun. And I think that's my biggest challenge is that first off, we've lost that idea of fun. And that is a bad, bad, bad thing. And I think that I have an idea that I'm working on with Ed that is absolutely awesome. I can't say anything yet to make sure I want to make sure it goes through first. But if and when it goes through, you'll be like, that was awesome. And it's just so
Mhm.
outside the box. It is so outside the box that it's really fun. And it's just because at the end of the day, why can't we have fun with what we're doing? Like, and I mean, that's the thing. Like, was the last glass of wine you had a fun experience? Right?
Are you
Mine
asking me
was.
that?
Yeah, I'm asking you. Was
Are
your
we
last
being
glass of wine
Yeah.
fun?
Well, I'll tell you, um, maybe not fun, but I did enjoy it. So
Okay.
I'm a single mom, and I will definitely have a glass or two of wine. And I am of the life is too short to
Yep.
dance with ugly men and drink bad wine mindset. So 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 I don't. I really enjoy what I drink. And last night I had the experience of I helped a dear friend pour wine for an event that she was contracted to do, and she needed a little help. So we were a 2-hour drive down and a setup and an hour and a half of pouring wine and breakdown and a 2-hour drive back. So I got back here knowing I had to do this podcast this morning, but I did have a glass of wine. So that
That's
was my
awesome.
last glass of wine, and it was delicious.
That's super awesome. Now I want to ask you this. One last question. Um, your tagline, and I love this: "We are all mortal until the first kiss and the second glass of wine." Tell me about that line. Where did it come from, and why does it still resonate with you?
Well, I read it on a wine list at the top about 25 years ago. And it was one of those things that, like, I went back to in my head all the time. And, uh, I believe I believe a philosopher said it now. Like, I just thought some cool person who wrote the wine list 'cause it wasn't attributed. Um, so I to me, that sums up how wine makes me feel. That feeling, that first kiss feeling of, like, all the butterflies and the lead up to it and the giddiness of it, um, you know, and then your second glass of wine. I don't know if you've ever watched those, videos of where they'll like, 3 women are out together, they're like, "This is my first glass of wine," and they're talking, and then, "This is my second glass of wine, and this is my third glass of wine." Well, the third glass of wine takes you to a different place. That second glass, that's nice little nirvana space, and, I love that. I wish for everybody that they could go through life feeling like the first kiss and the second glass of wine.
I love that because yeah, you're right. It does hit different. That second glass does hit different. And I remember my first car, and my dad handed me the keys. I would just graduated high school, and it was a beat up old Subaru. It was actually clean lines and everything, but it was just an old car. But man,
Mhm.
I remember the first drives in that with no AC, rolling down the windows, and yet it was beautiful. And I think that that present
Mhm.
moment experience is so powerful. And those first kisses, those second glasses of wine, those dances that we do are so beautiful. But you have to be there, and you got to give your space to do it. And I want to ask you one more last question. Someone who's not into wine, and you're pouring them 3 glasses. What are the 3 glasses you're pouring?
I think AHA wine experience is a beautiful dry Riesling, because it's the way it smells is heaven. People hear Riesling, they think it's gonna be sweet. Even sometimes when you smell it, you think it's gonna be, but instead, it's all of these, um citrus and floral and peachy tones, and if it's like maybe I would say a fine herb, a medium dry Riesling for someone new, but it finishes drier and crisper and with minerality and acidity, and you don't expect it. It's mouth-watering. I think that's heaven, and it's definitely something I would do, and we're taught that it's not cool to like Riesling, but the cool kids love Riesling.
Right?
And, Merlot, again, sideways taught us that we're not supposed. He didn't mean to teach us that we're not supposed to like Merlot, but,
I love Merlot.
we that happened.
Merlot is
Uh,
hands down my favorite wine.
I love Merlot, and I think Merlot can a good Merlot is a revelation um, in for red wine. I think cab can go too far, especially for if you're new to wine, right? Like, but people want to jump to Cabernet, and especially if they're drinking it too young or something like that, it's too austere. There's too much tannin. You're not getting it. I love a beautiful Merlot with a couple of years of bottle age. Um, and then Pinot Noir, and probably
Yeah,
the where I think a lot of the heart of Pinot Noir. I personally love to drink like Sonoma Coast, Oregon, that kind of thing. But I think I would pick a beautiful Russian River Pinot Noir.
I
Um,
love it.
it's yeah, those would be my three. But you didn't ask me my desert island wine. I like your choice better because you have to think outside of, like, how someone who's been drinking wine for 30 years drinks, just how someone who you want them to love it. Yeah.
Where can people go to find out more about you and what you do?
Well, thank you for asking. Um, I'm on all the stuff. So, I'm on Instagram. I have I have I have 3 accounts on Instagram. I shouldn't, but anyway, I'm at Vicki Tom1 on Instagram, and I am at Wine Flight Society on Instagram, and if you just need a 3rd Vicki Instagram account, I am at Drinks for a Living, and that's 4 spelled out. I mean, drinksforaliving.com. That started when I was starting to blog. And you can find out about Wine Flight Society at my website, which is wineflightsociety.com.